DreAllDay.com.
Before we start, please like and comment on this video so I can get your feedback. Also, click that subscribe button so you can get all the new content I'm dropping on this channel. And the free book, the mental handbook, physical book, Work on Your Game University, just take care of the shipping and handling, send this right to your doorstep. Let's get started. What's going on, everybody? Dre Baldwin, DreAllDay.com. I had to do my filming inside today because it's a little bit, I usually film earlier in the morning. It's kind of mid-afternoon in Miami, and if you haven't been to Miami, you can just tell by looking out there, it's hot. And I don't want to be standing out there sweating as if I was just working out from recording videos. So I'm doing it inside today. Hopefully y'all can still see me and hear me clearly. Today we are talking to Washington Wizards. The Washington Wizards, a team who was, I think we can all agree, was a disappointment last year. I believe they won 40 or 41 games, doesn't matter the exact number. Missed the playoffs after damn near being in the Eastern Conference Finals the year before. They lost to the Atlanta Hawks, I believe, when John Wall got injured. I think he broke his hand or something happened to John Wall. He missed the last few games of that series, and the Hawks ended up eliminating the Wizards. But I think the Wizards would have beat the Hawks that year, and they would have went to the Eastern Conference Finals, and they would have got swept by the Cavs in the conference finals the same way the Hawks did. But they didn't. Then they went backwards this past year. I don't know what the hell happened. Everybody was healthy for the most part. I mean, the team, I would say, was healthy overall, and everybody was playing. So I have no idea why this team got so much worse last season. Now, I think the coaching was part of it. And I think the year before when they had, who was the guy? I forget the guy's name who was the coach of the Wizards the year before. But I think he kind of lucked into that team being successful. They caught maybe some Eastern Conference teams. I wouldn't say the teams were weak, but I think he kind of lucked into that team playing so well because they had some players who were playing great. A guy like John Wall, who's an all-star, up-and-coming guys. Their big guys played well, and everyone stayed healthy all season, which is something that normally didn't happen. So he got a chance to coach again the next year. And I think everybody pretty much knew that that team was going to start falling apart because he's just not a good coach. So the team fell apart, predictably. They ended up firing the coach. Randy Whitman was the coach, and now they got Scott Brooks in there. Now, over the offseason, I don't know if y'all follow this stuff that happens in the NBA in the offseason. I don't follow too much of it, but I did follow this because I read a lot. When Bradley Beal got his max contract, John Wall did an interview with, I think, a local Washington, D.C. sports reporter, and he was basically trashing Bradley Beal, his teammate. The best two players on the team trashing each other. This was like a Shaq-Kobe thing, but without the championships and a little bit lower level of overall talent. These two guys are trashing each other in the newspaper. But the one I read was John Wall's. I didn't read Bradley Beal's article. I think he did an interview too, but he was a little bit less, he said something like, we have a tendency to dislike each other on the court, which is kind of a crazy thing to say. But he didn't really say anything negative about John Wall. But John Wall said some negative things about Bradley Beal in this interview that I had read. One thing I heard him say, he was like, all right, well, you got your money now, so now you need to work on your game and get better. You need to improve your game because Bradley Beal basically became, well, not basically, but actually became the highest paid player on the Washington Wizards with a $22 million deal with the contract he just signed this past offseason. And John Wall has a max contract, but he has one of the quote-unquote old max contracts, so he's making only $16 million this year. So I think John Wall obviously pays attention to how much money other people are making. He made some comments when, I believe it was, he made some comments about Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan. He made some comments about, who's the other guy? Mike Conley getting paid. Just when other players who are at his position who he feels he's better than, when they made more money than him, John Wall has made a comment often. He's made some comments about that. So I think John Wall pays a lot of attention to how much money people are making in his comparison to those guys. Now, if that helps John Wall play better, then hey, do what you got to do, John Wall. But let's look at this guy, Bradley Beal, who just signed a max contract for $22 million per season. I don't know how many years his deal was for. Now, is Bradley Beal the guy who should be the highest paid player on the team in the league? I would have to say no. I mean, Bradley Beal is not an all-star. Bradley Beal is a good player, but he's not an all-star. By last year, he didn't get snubbed for the all-star game. He's just not an all-star. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the guy. Now, if you're going to pay him the max contract, and I think that was pretty much what the market demanded, that's why he got the money that he got, because some other team would give him the amount if the Wizards didn't give him the amount. So, of course, I understand why the Wizards gave it to him. I think on a logical level, John Wall knows why they had to give it to him. And if John Wall's contract was up, guess what? He would get a max contract too. Probably for more money than Bradley Beal because he's been in the league longer. So the max is probably a little bit higher. I think John Wall logically understands that, but emotionally, I think John Wall is just doing a comparison game. And John Wall's better than Bradley Beal. So he has a reason to feel that way. He has a right to feel that way. But, dude, y'all the two best players on the team, John Wall. You as the leader, you can't come out and say things like that. And seeing that that's the way their leader is thinking Probably tells us a lot about why the Wizards played the way they played last year. And I'm a fan of John Wall. I like John Wall. We're going to get to him in a minute. Let's talk about Bradley Beal. He's only 23 years old. He just turned 23 years old. He's been in the league 4 years already. Issue with Bradley Beal is that he can't stay healthy. That's the biggest issue with Bradley Beal. He is consistently injured. His first year in the league, he played 56 games. I'm not sure if that was the lockout year or it was the year. No, that wasn't the lockout year. This was after the lockout. 56 games as a rookie. Played 73 games his second year, which he played very well. 17 points per game is probably his best overall year statistically. Was his second year in the league when he played 73 games. His third season he played 63 games, and then last year he played 55 games, and he started 35 of the games. So for some reason, Bradley Beal got taken out of the starting lineup for the Wizards last year. I didn't notice, but now I'm seeing it looking at this because those weren't just get back in shape from the injury games. 20 games he didn't start. I don't know why. I don't know who would be starting if Bradley Beal's not starting on the team that didn't even make the playoffs. But anyway, Bradley Beal averaged 17 points a game, which is not bad. He'll get you 3.5 rebounds, 2 or 3 assists per game, a steal every game. So he's active there. He's an athletic guy. He gets to the line only 3 times a game. Not much of a free throw guy. He probably shoots a lot of outside shots. Well, we know he shoots a lot of outside shots. He's a 40% three-point shooter, which means he can space the floor, but he's not I wouldn't even call that a sniper at that percentage. And his overall shooting percentage is 45%, which is great, but not, it was good, but not great. At the shooting guard position, he's an outside shooting guy, so he's not going to make too high of a percentage, especially when you're shooting threes, especially when you're creating your shots off the bounce as Bradley Beal does. Now, again, if I showed you these stats and I didn't have his name next to it, would you say this guy should be making the max? It's not even how much money it is. It's not about the dollar amount. It's about if he is the highest paid player on your team, how far is that team going? That's the question that I'm asking. If the guy whose stats I just told you, you didn't even know who it was, if that's the highest paid player on your team, how far is that team going? Probably not far. They'd probably be something like they were last year. They actually would probably be worse because their best player was not the highest paid player. But let's look at who else is on this roster coming into this year. The Wizards added Trey Burke, who is 6 feet. Trey Burke, I didn't know Trey Burke was 6 feet 1 inches tall. I thought he was a little bit shorter than that. But anyway, he's coming from the Utah Jazz, where he had a couple flashes, but I don't think he's really had a chance to either A, really show his game, or B, maybe he's just not going to be able to be up to speed to the NBA game. I don't know. Those of you who have watched him in the NBA, you tell me. I have not watched any of Trey Burke. I've seen some highlights and read some things about him, but I haven't really watched him. And I don't think I'm going to get a chance to watch him much this year because John Wall's starting point guard. Trey Burke is going to be coming off the bench. That is if there isn't any other point guard who ends up getting playing time also. Looking at the rest of this roster, Marcin Gortat is still on the team. Is Nene still on the team? I don't see Nene's name here, so I think Nene left. Actually, I think Nene went to a different team. I don't even know what team, but I don't see his name on this roster. So Nene's gone, so y'all can see how much I pay attention to off-season moves. I don't really watch too much of that stuff. Marcin Gortat still on the team. J.J. Hickson, I'm not excited about that. Jan Mahimi, that was the Wizards' big off-season signing. Washington Wizards fans, if your biggest off-season signing is Jan Mahimi, y'all in trouble. Y'all in trouble, Wizards. Now, we're going to talk about the overall prognosis for this team coming into the season, but he was the biggest pickup in the offseason. Markieff Morris is a good pickup. I like Markieff Morris. He can put the ball in the basket. He can create off the bounce. He's a tough-nosed player. I think he might go a little bit too far in being tough-nosed, and that it kind of sometimes can take away from him staying focused on what he needs to do for his team, or focus just on the game period, or helping his team overall. He might get a little bit too much in it. But I think he is a hard-nosed guy who can put the ball in the basket when he gets an opportunity, when he gets the ball in his hands. Now, how much he's going to be able to get the ball in his hands playing on this team, I don't know. Now, I know he did do well, and he got traded in the middle of the season last year. He did pretty well in the time he was there, but I want to see how they do for an entire season. Markieff Morris just turned 27 years old. He has been in the league for 5 years. And the guy can play. I like Markieff Morris's game. As I said, I think he plays best when he's on the team with a dribble the ball up and pass it point guard, not a ball dominant point guard, somebody like John Wall. So again, he did okay in 27 games with the Wizards. He started 21 of those games. I mean, the guy, he averaged 12 points per game. He wasn't only shooting the ball 10 times a game. He's not a good three-point shooter, but he shoots 2 or 3 three-pointers a game. So I think Scott Brooks, the new coach, we're going to talk about him in a minute. He's going to have to maybe coach that out of Markieff Morris. Markieff Morris does not shoot a lot of free throws. He will grab you 5-6 rebounds a game, get you 1 or 2 assists, a steal. So he's an active guy. Again, on this team, I think it's really going to be a coaching thing, how he ends up performing on this team, because I believe he's a guy who needs the ball in his hands. He's not a garbage player. Markieff Morris, not, when I say garbage player, I don't mean garbage like a bum, or I should have said garbage man is the type of word phrasing that I should have used. He's not a garbage man player, a guy who's just happy to be out there setting screens, grabbing rebounds, and if he happens to get the ball, he gets it. No, he's a guy who needs to be getting the ball to be happy and to be a productive guy. So the Wizards are going to have to figure some things out, because Gortat needs to get the ball in the pick and roll, which John Wall runs very well. Bradley Beal wants the ball. Obviously, as much as they pay him, he better be getting the ball. John Wall needs the ball because he's the best player on the damn team. And Markieff Morris, he does need the ball if he's going to be a starter. Looking at the rest of this roster, Otto Porter, he's been in the league for a while. Is Otto Porter a good player, Wizards fans? I don't know. I'm not even saying it to be negative. I'm just asking, is he good? I know he's been in the league several years. I haven't heard too much about or from Otto Porter. So those of you who have watched him, please tell me something about Otto Porter. Is he a good player or is he not? Jason Smith, a solid backup power forward. Jason Smith is a good guy that just have on the roster. I don't think he plays much, but he's going to be, actually, he might get some good playing time on this team, even though there are a lot of forwards on this roster at the moment. I think when it shakes out, he will be playing. And Marcus Thornton, who's a guy who can put the ball in the basket, a guy who wants the ball in his hands, a guy who is not very effective if he's not having the ball and creating points. That's what Marcus Thornton does. So the biggest issue I see with this team, just right off the bat, looking at these names on this roster, everybody needs the ball. Everybody is most effective when they're getting the ball or having the ball. John Wall don't have to score the points, but he needs to have the ball in his hands, and he should have the ball in his hands because he is the best player on his team. The thing is, they just gave a max contract to a guy who plays in the backcourt with him, a guy who likes to go off the dribble and create his own shot and shoot jump shots, in which he only shoots at 44, 45%. It's not efficient. You're not making it to the playoffs if that's your best player. If that's what he's doing. That's not going to work out. Let's take a look at John Wall, who's still only 26 years old. He's been in the league for 6 years. John Wall has been an all-star. He's a guy who hasn't played on Team USA yet, but I believe he should. Next time Team USA has a team, John Wall should be on that team. I don't know why he didn't play this year. Maybe he got injured, maybe he didn't get invited, but he should be in the mix because he can play, he can defend, he can handle it, he can make enough outside shots. He's super athletic. That's pretty much what you need. You need players who can defend multiple positions, players who are athletic and can be all over the floor. That's what you need on the USA teams is what I'm saying. John Wall is definitely that guy. Why he didn't play this year, I don't know. If y'all know, tell me. I don't remember what it was. Now, John Wall has been a relatively healthy player. He played all the games in a lockout shortened season. The next year, he played 49 games because he had some injuries in 2013. But the next 2014, all 82 games, and he played 79 games 2 years ago, 77 games last year, and he's playing 35, 36 minutes a game. So the guy's a workhorse out there on the court playing. He only shoots. Last year, his shooting percentage went down to about 43% when it was up around 44, 45. And that's because he started shooting all these threes. He shot way more threes last year, made 35%. When you're shooting 35% on threes, I mean, it's not like I'm going to tell you can't shoot, but you shouldn't be shooting 4 of them a game like John Wall did. Damn near 4.5 that he shot last year. He shouldn't be doing that. He does get to the line 4.5 times a game. He gets you 10 assists and 20 points. I mean, 20 and 10 guy, you can't argue it. 20 points a game, 10 assists per game. I'm not mad at that from John Wall. I think John Wall, number one, needs to step his. It's not even the stats. But one thing I will say about his stats, he needs to stop shooting all those damn threes. I have no idea why John Wall is shooting threes when you only shooting 35%. But one thing that John Wall must do, as the best player on his team, as a guy who is on a max contract too, even though it's not the same kind of max contract that his teammate Bradley Beal got, he got to be a leader. You can't go to the newspaper and say, all right, now you got your money, now go work on your game because I want you to be an all-star like I'm an all-star. That's what he actually said. He said, I want Bradley Beal to be an all-star the same way I'm an all-star. And I didn't hear how he said it. I didn't hear the tone in his voice. But just going by the tone of the interview and the things that he was saying before and after that, I think the tone of it was more like he was saying it kind of facetiously, like he was talking shit. He wasn't saying it like, hey, I'm an all-star, I want him to be an all-star too, so we both all-stars. He didn't say it. I didn't get that he said it like that. Again, I didn't hear him say it, but that's the way that I read in between the lines, that he was kind of saying it, kind of like he was talking shit to Brad Beal, like, oh, now you need to be an all-star. Look, I'm an all-star, but you got money. You got more money than me. So John Wall has to step up his leadership game. He must be the leader of this team if they're going to make the playoffs. There is no one else on this roster who should be leading this team. There's no one else, I think, equipped fit to be the leader of this roster except John Wall, and it might not even be John Wall. We're going to have to find out, but it definitely needs to be this season because this team was in the Eastern Conference semifinals, could have made it to the conference finals. I think they could have beat the Hawks that year. Wall gets injured. They don't get past the Hawks in the second round, and then they go and miss the playoffs even though they had their star player, John Wall, out there playing. So that is just unacceptable for a superstar guy. If you're going to be that superstar guy, your team can't go backwards like that when you out there playing 77 out of 82 games, John Wall. So it's really a leadership thing for him. Now, they did add Scott Brooks as a coach. I don't know if this is I think it is an upgrade. I think Scott Brooks is better than Randy Whitman. He is a better coach than Randy Whitman. How much better? I don't know how much. I really don't know how much because we saw Scott Brooks in his last job. He was coaching Oklahoma City Thunder. He had 2 of the top 5 players in the league, and they pretty much ran some very basic stuff. They're running some very basic stuff all season. So I don't know how great of a coach Scott Brooks actually is, but he's going to get a chance to prove it. He's going to get his opportunity to prove it now that he's coaching the Washington Wizards. He doesn't have 2 of the top 5 players in the world on his team. He has John Wall, got Bradley Beal, 2 guys who might not even like each other right now on the same team. The rest of this roster, I don't see too much to get excited about. They're not bad, but it ain't nothing to get excited about. Wizards fans, you tell me. You tell me what's going on with the Wizards. Should I expect more out of the Wizards this year? Well, I didn't even tell you what I expect. Since I'm a fan of John Wall, since I believe in John Wall, and since I think Bradley Beal is going to show up ready to prove that he is worth what he's getting, and I think a lot of people are hoping that he does, Wizards fans, I say the Wizards win 40, I say in the mid-40s this year, somewhere between 43 and 46 games. The Wizards win this year. They do make the playoffs, and I think they can win a playoff series. I think they can win a playoff series, and that 43 to 46 could go up. Maybe it could go up into the 50s if they play excellent and John Wall really steps up his leadership game. I think they can even sneak into maybe a 4th seed and get home court advantage in the first round. And the lower half of the Eastern Conference teams, I think the top half, you got the Cavs, you got Toronto. I think Boston will be in the top half. I don't know what we're going to get out of the Atlanta Hawks. I'm not sure. And we'll talk about the Hawks a few videos moving forward. I think the Wizards can be in that top 4. And then you're looking at teams like, because I think the Pacers are going to regress. I think they're going to get worse. I think Charlotte made it last year. I think they're going to get worse. So I think the Wizards can get a top 4 or top 5 seed. And even if they don't, even if they finish a 6 or 7 seed, as long as they don't have to play the Cavs in the first round, everybody got a chance to win the first round. I think the only team that doesn't have a chance to win first round in the East is the team that has to play against Cleveland. Because Cleveland is well, we know what Cleveland is. They won the damn championship. I ain't got to talk about Cleveland. We'll talk about them when we get to their video. But that's my prognosis for the Wizards. Wizards fans, you agree, disagree, questions, comments, criticisms, complaints, leave it down there in the comments. Everybody, will see you tomorrow when we talk about the Houston Rockets. Work on your game. DreAllDay.com.